What's going on, guys?
Hey
How
there.
are you? How are you? Doing just fine, doing just fine. I'm kind of curious as to if you guys researched on cryptocurrency or online scamming victims to kind of prepare for this film.
Yeah, we absolutely like this was pulled from a lot of like real stories. So we were kind of constantly taking inspiration from real scams, real sort of kidnapping attempts. It was there's a well of great opportunity out there in the world to take material from.
And Josh, you're kind of known for like outlandish characters. What makes your character unique within this story, and ultimately, what kind of drew you to this particular film?
Yeah, this was definitely a different thing I got to do on this movie, which was really cool. And like I think with so many projects, what got me excited was the script. Cutter and our writer John Hybe did such an awesome job creating this kind of twisted character who, you don't expect to be quite as devious and nefarious as he turns out to be, and getting to sink my teeth into something like that was super fun. And yeah, like Cutter was saying, we just looked at a lot of these kind of real life characters, people like Martin Shkreli, the Pharma Bro, if you're familiar with him, Elizabeth Holmes, and then Sam Bankman-Fried. While we were shooting the movie, some like crazy vigilantes showed up at Sam Bankman-Fried's parents' house and tried to like bang down the door. So there, like Cutter said, there was so much to draw on, both story-wise and character-wise.
Awesome. Yeah. And kind of speaking of those influences, Cutter, is there any particular cinematic influences? Because I mean, obviously the invasion aspect of the film and there's a lot that it reminded me of, but at the same time it did feel very fresh. So I was kind of wondering what inspired you ultimately.
Well, I mean I'm a big fan of any movie that's kind of about criminals who get in over their head, who attempt to do something that they're not quite prepared for. Um, obviously the Coen brothers movies like A Simple Plan and even Blood Simple are big influences on me. Um, I just I love it when people are getting into to mischief and they don't belong. Even I think all the way back to like the movie Bottle Rocket for in a much more like comedic way. Like to me, I just it's an endless source of joy to sort of see people like who don't know what they're doing get violent and get breaking into houses and banks and things like that. So I love that as a genre.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that you mentioned Bottle Rocket. It's kind of one of those untalked about Wes Anderson films unless you start digging deep into his cinematography. You don't really, everyone always is like, what the hell are you talking about? But it's a great film. And Coen Brothers, I could definitely see that, putting the pieces together. And, this film, like the Coen Brothers, it does have a lot of dark humor, thriller elements to it. And this is kind of for both of you guys. How did you balance those tones? Because I know that that can be difficult to kind of, you know, not necessarily go to one and kind of teeter that line. So Josh, was that difficult for you? And Cutter, how did ultimately did you get that out of everybody in the performance?
Yeah, I think I can answer that question in sort of one name, which is Tony Cavallero. He is a comedic genius on camera, and also just like the most fun, gregarious guy to be around off camera. And I think that's just infectious, and there is just a lightness that naturally comes from being around him. And the four of us, Raul and Melanie, uh, we just got along so great and had such a good time that I think it was almost impossible for things to go too dark or moody because we were just having such a good time together.
Yeah, and I mean just to add on to that, that was kind of comedy and humor is sort of like our saving grace to sort of not have this tip into like just pure darkness, that there's always kind of the comedic ropes always keeping us from falling over the edge.
And I kind of want to piggyback off what you said, Josh, and kind of mentioned this strong ensemble. Um, how did you guys build chemistry? Was there like like Zoom meetings before, or like did you guys go through the script? Because that was one thing that I really kind of struck me when watching this film was it felt like there was like you guys had known each other forever. I mean, not necessarily your character, but like it felt very natural from a viewer's perspective. And I was kind of wondering how like outside of Tony, what can we pat on the back that for?
I mean, I think a big part of it is what Cutter did with casting and what they did with the script. But I will say, some of us had known each other for a long time. I've known Tony for years and years and years, and Melanie and I worked on a movie together in Bogota, Colombia, about a decade ago. So I did know people. I did actually, we did actually kind of know each other, but it was just one of those instant sort of, alchemical things that you can't really put your finger on. But we were all living together in this little tiny back house. Melanie was there with her daughter, and the guys were upstairs, and we just kind of fell in love right away and had the best time just being hunkered down together. It was bitter cold in the dead of winter in Western Massachusetts, and we would just huddle by the fireplace and drink beers and hang out and yeah, talk about the movie, talk about the script. But it was one of those things. I feel like, Cutter, correct me if I'm wrong, we sat down for that table read in that big house that first day, and it was like, oh yeah, this is gonna work great.
Yeah, totally. We did manage to get some like a little bit of rehearsal time in, despite like a tight schedule. Like it's a really important thing for exactly that reason. It's like you get like we've got to like develop a rapport and a chemistry, but it's pretty evident that it was going to be there right from the beginning.
I guess to kind of wrap up that question, Cutter, when casting, was that something that you were kind of looking at, like the fact that some of these guys had known each other prior, or was it just kind of a happenstance?
No, it wasn't intentional that they had relationships with each other, but it was more about what each one was going to bring. Like I think like Tony and Josh have more of a comedic background. Raul and Melanie kind of have more dramatic background, but they all have like a foundation of talent and hard work and education on this that just allowed everyone to sort of try something just a little bit new, a little bit outside of their comfort zone, even, me as well. So, um, yeah, it's like I cannot emphasize enough how fun and how rewarding it was to get to collaborate with these super talented actors. It was a real blessing.
Well, and the film's a real blessing too, man. Here at CineDump, we let the doers know how they're doing, and you guys are doing just fine. Keep making them. We'll keep watching them. Thank you guys so much for your time, and congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.